with Dr. Rubinsky's students. Today I'm going to be presenting my presentation on how to keep Frost Brigade clean campus because it's not always the cleanest when I go on campus. So FSU has a litter problem because in some areas of the campus, they're not always the cleanest, like the stadium or some of the walkways and grass. I'll see like some bits of trash, so that should be taken care of a little bit better. So a question I want to bring to you guys is, how can we as students keep the level of trash and recycling under control so it's not all over the grass or on the walkway when we're trying to get to class or anything? How can we keep it under control? So the stadium, like I said, is the biggest venue where all kinds of different games happen, and the student section is probably the most nastiest part of the stadium because a lot of the students are there, they're having food, they're having drinks, but the amount of it is underneath the bleachers, which is not a good spot for it because there are trash cans like right in the stadium. Those red trash bins are on the stadium because I've seen this before, but underneath the bleachers, I've seen food robbers underneath the bleachers a lot more so. This venue has to be treated more with care because it's a popular venue, it's used a lot, so as students, we just need to make a better cleaning effort for the stadium. Now, we can help fix this problem by doing more organized litter collection with putting all kinds of trash, cans, bottles in labeled bins so people know where they are. And we should place more bins around buildings because I don't think there are many bins around all the buildings that I've been here on campus. So more buildings with more labels just so everyone has a place to go, not far, whether it's close. And hopefully put outdoor waste stations like behind the campus, behind the dorms if we can actually afford that. So the evidence, this is an article that I found on rogue disposal recycling where it's important to do our part because when we're in reducing amounts of trash because it should not be anywhere else besides a bin. Like the grass, underneath the bleachers, walkway are not personal trash cans, so a bin is the only place that trash should be in. If there is an overfilled can, do not add to it. Cut back on the big trash amounts because the more you overfill a filled can, the more it's going to spill out and just be an even bigger mess. Because less waste means there's less to clean. So hopefully we can keep the amount of waste to a lesser quality. So we can just keep it under control. Oh, I went way too far. So visualization, if we do this, then our campus will be a better environment to experience and learn. Because healthy campuses are some of the busiest around, and the chance of spreading bacteria and germs is high. And so we want to keep it under control. And according to, this is a website that I found, kind of a blog in Penn State, Jersey, where campuses that are healthy are the busiest around. And the more germs and bacteria, the more germs and bacteria there are, the higher we are of having a sick risk. And if students are sick, then that will cause just a lot of germs. So we gotta reduce the quality because we don't want any more sickness of the students. So a little bit of evidence that I found from this website where a messy environment is a distraction to students. So if they're walking to class or they're going to a game and they see trash all over campus, then that is a distraction. And so we want to keep it as nice because this campus is surrounded by mountains and trees, and we want to keep the aesthetic to the campus. And so we want to not spread germs. Overflowing trash cans can lead to spills and debris that attract pests, so that has to be at a lower level. And a clean campus can help protect your institution and save money by preventing damage before it even happens. So conclusion, we need to organize an effort, because I found out that Penn State has organizations that help, clubs specifically, that help clean their stadium after a game. 3/4 of the stadium are assigned to people. The process is long and tedious there, but it gets the job done. So I think if Frostburg has more clubs give an effort to clean the stadium or just all around campus, then it will be a good cause. Yes, it will be tedious, it will be long, but it will be good for our campus, because less trash will mean less of a distraction for us. These are all my sources, and that is it.
All right, let's give him a hand. And questions for Colin?
Oh,
I have a question. So I admit I don't get to the stadium very often.
Yeah.
But I never realized that this was an issue or that this was a problem. But you really do see this as an issue on campus.
no, yeah, it is, yeah, because the stadium, I've been down there lots of times for football games, and that is like probably the messiest area in Frostburg, because there's a lot of students there, families, so that venue gets messy fast around those games, or just events, so that needs to be taken care of better, because that venue shouldn't be treated that bad with trash all over it.
Do you think that the problem is because there's not the correct recycling bins or trash receptacles and it's just not easy to get to, or do you think students are just being lazy?
I think some of it is laziness, because they just don't want to negative effort to go all the way to a bin and just go all the way back to their seat. But what they don't realize is when they if they just dump their cans or wrappers on the stadium, that's going to cause someone to slip on it. So you're going to cause like injury to someone if that happens. So laziness cannot be when cleaning up your own mess, especially if it's at the stadium. And I know I've seen at least 3 red bins in the stands, and that's what they're there for. So laziness has got to not be laziness.
Yeah.
Be more productive if students can. I know all of them cannot, but if they can, just use a red bin. Please just use the bin. They're there for a reason.
I have a question about this too, in that I know we've talked about this to help you think about the framing of this as a problem, solution, and visualization. I'm wondering if, is there an effort by the staff on campus that is required? They pick it up, but it's only so often, and that's why the student groups are needed?
I have seen a couple of staff drive trucks to pick up the trash. I'll see them early in the morning. But I don't see enough, I guess, of clubs doing it, or just student athletes doing it, because I'll see maybe a couple, maybe adult groups do it, but not enough students to do it. So I think if we increase the amount of efforts, if some of the athletic clubs could possibly chime in and pick up any kind of trash that they see, just so that the campus looks better, because the clock tower is another place where I've seen trash. Not a whole lot, but I've seen some around the clock tower, because I know events happen in that area, and large ones too. So I feel that if there are I feel that more clubs, if possible, should lend a hand if they can.
When I think of Safe Ride, for example, and I don't know exactly how that is all running right now, but I know it still exists because I'll get the reminder sometimes it's not running. I know that was something that was shared often by clubs, where students would sign up or clubs would sign up to cover. And it's an indication it's a value, that we value that safety and that support, for transportation. And, so, a couple things is the staffing adequate, to take care of the property or the facility?
Yeah.
And if not, then we have to make it up with students. But some of it's some of the things you mentioned, that you take more pride, and there's kind of this closing of the loop, that if you get the students engaged, that it represents something about what we value, and it gets people invested in not having to pick up as much if they don't throw it as much.
Plus, we're surrounded by mountains and all this beautiful scenery. So I feel like the school should add to that aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep the campus as clean as possible. If helpful. I know that's probably not, everyone's gonna probably do that, but if at least a bigger majority can, then they should, because everyone's living in one giant place all at once, on and off, so it's a big living space but it should be treated with more care than neglected.
Anything else?
I found that idea of having a club for cleaning up the stadium after the games like Penn State did. I found that a really interesting idea, but how do you think you could increase enrollment in such a club, in such a community university? Because it's been kind of a notorious problem with social life around campus, is that it's such a community university, it's hard to get commuters such as myself actually involved.
It is hard, yeah. I feel like maybe if, I'm not sure how often, but maybe if in like some of the brochures, there could be like a little kind of, I guess, advertisement for it, just to like, if you wanna like help, I guess, keep the campus clean or be a part of a team that keeps certain areas of it clean. I think you should just, like, you can join this to help keep your environment clean. And I know that a lot of clubs are busy, but I think if there are advertisements for it in the brochures or just on or in the Lane Center, advertising it, I think that would probably get a little bit more attention, maybe not a whole lot, but a little bit more students would know about it.
Well, is the Sierra Club still active?
Okay.
The Sierra Club on campus, there used to be one.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure about that anymore, but the one I keep thinking of is the Sustainability Awareness Society.
Okay,
It's been in place for 5 to 10 years, and I think Tracy might be the advisor. So it's located in the geography department.
so, and I think some of those fell off during COVID, the groups.
It's been hard to rebound since
And that's
COVID.
part of this.
Even that club, which is ongoing, doesn't have a whole lot of members right now. So.
Right, so we gotta reorganize, and so promoting it definitely helps, but your question's really a good one, because it's like, how do we mobilize? How do we organize people to show up, and are there incentives, or are there, ways that you can put other opportunities alongside a game, say, to do the cleanup, or I don't know.
Right, and what was interesting is that I used to school at College Park downstate, and they would have a lot of clubs, like guys who would run all the concessions. If you go to a University of Maryland football game, they have clubs run all of the concessions, and of course they have free admission. And whether or not there would be a designated club that could do that, or a rotation of different clubs that could participate in that to receive free admission for that game or something of that sort, maybe
Neat,
some incentive of some sort.
that's great. Yeah, I mean, and that's part of what these assignments, to ask students to participate in, looking at it and examining a question and then presenting it in a public venue like Focus Frostburg are about too, is just to determine how do you make things work, or how do you solve problems. And so you have to analyze it, and kind of see what's in place, examine what other schools are doing, and then see how you bring it back and mobilize it here.
Yeah.
So do you think that, I think you're involved with football in some way, right, with that?
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
And so is there some way that group could be engaged, do you think, that you could actually take it back and do something with it?
Possibly. The thing is, it's hard to get people motivated to do something because that's like cleaning, that's boring, like cleaning, which is not everyone's favorite thing, but this is like your campus cleanup.
Right.
So a little bit more pride should be taken into consideration. And even if I could push it, I'm not sure how received it would get, even if I did push it.
Yeah, so sometimes you have to get more input and see
Yeah.
how do you put it out there, how do you pitch it and get people involved. So, all right, let's give them a hand.